Welcome everyone, first of all, to our webinar, Access to Capital for Businesses. My name is Emily Manns, and I'm the Chief Business Development Officer and Director of Marketing here at Invest Newark. If you're not familiar with us, we are the City of Newark's economic development agency, and our division, the business development team, is responsible for supporting businesses in starting in Newark, staying in Newark, growing in Newark, or moving into Newark. And so we cover a lot of different areas. And one of the key components of our work is our lending, our investment capital, our capital lending services with Therone Hopkins. So Therone joined us about 1 year ago. He's been an incredible addition to the team. And we felt like it was so important to have him have this venue to address the business owners, here in the community to learn more about what we do at Invest Newark, what our loan products are here, what our loan application is like, but then also just some general just overview of things to think about when you're going about getting financing. So he's going to start the webinar today giving you 4 key questions to ask yourself when you're looking for financing, then going over some different types of financial resources, then heading into Invest Newark specific resources or our different loan products. And then last, he's going to leave you with a detailed description of our loan application process. We will have time for Q&A. So the presentation itself is going to take until about 2:40 p.m. And then there'll be 20 minutes built in for you to ask questions to Therone. Our senior training manager, Hilda Castellanos, who helped put together today's program, she is in the chat. She will be monitoring for questions. And so she's also providing instructions in the chat about how to ask questions using the Q&A feature or speaking. And so she'll give you information about how to do that. So feel free to put questions in as the presentation is going, and we'll make sure that we review them at the end. So without further ado, I'm going to turn it over to Therone Hopkins, Invest Newark's Chief Lending Officer, to begin this webinar. Thank you.
Thank you, Emily. I appreciate it. Thank you for all the kind words. Good afternoon, everybody. Again, my name is Therone Hopkins. I'm the Chief Lending Officer here for Invest Newark. Today, we're going to go over access to capital for businesses. You heard a little bit about our agenda. I'll show it to you again. We're going to start with the question, so you have a business. We're going to talk about some financing resources. Then we're going to go over Invest Newark solutions that we have for capital. We're also going to go over the loan readiness and loan application process. And then we'll take some questions at the conclusion of the presentation. So let's begin. So here's one of the main questions. So you have a business. You got this great business idea, but you have to get some funding to realize the dream. You may have this idea where you can change the world or at least change your life. You've worked out a product, you've dreamed about the store and the website and how you want it displayed and, rolling in a pile of cash because your idea is going to make you rich. But where do you get the funding to start this dream? So when figuring out the type of money that you may need to start this dream, you have to consider 4 questions. Okay, here are the first 2. First one, how much money do you need? So things for how much do you think you'll need and how much money will you need to use. So when you think about that, you start thinking about the raw materials that you need for your business if you're creating a product for sale, or how to execute the service that you're going to perform if you're a service-oriented business. You have to think about the location of your business, where that's going to operate, the employees that you may have, equipment, etc. So these are 2 questions you have to ask yourself. How much money will you need, and what will the money be used for? We have 2 other questions, and I believe these are very important when looking to obtain capital, specifically the last question. Where will you find the money, and how will you pay the money back? Again, the last one is of incredible importance. So let's talk about where that money is. Okay, so let's go to financing and resources, which I will say, AKA, where's the money? Okay, so capital for your business is available, but it's dependent upon the stage of business that you're in. Okay, so there's some stages that you have to take into account. So the first is the startup or seed stage. Okay, this is, basically where you're putting the idea together and you're literally starting the process of the business itself. So when you're in the startup or seed stage, oftentimes you use your personal assets to help get you started. So examples, your checking or your savings account. You may use credit cards to make purchases. You may have some stocks, bonds, or other investments that you can liquidate to start this process, or going into a retirement fund from, a full-time job you may have had or have. The 401k is an example of that. So there are pros and cons to using these personal assets. Pros are it's accessible. The first two are usually the most accessible: checking and savings and credit cards. Um, there's some cons though, and the cons are if you're using credit cards, you may potentially be putting money toward something for use, but at a high interest rate. If you go into stocks, bonds, or other investments, the con would be there that you have to pay taxes on the amount that you've withdrawn, or capital gains taxes. Same with retirement funds. Retirement funding usually has an early withdrawal penalty of 10%, plus whatever your taxable income is. So that may prove to be a little bit of a negative if you're in this stage. Okay, so another set of access to capital would be your family and friends. Okay, they can give you gifts of cash. They can make a direct loan for you. They can serve as a guarantor on a business loan that you're looking for in the near future, or they can provide something called credit enhancement. So we'll get into what a credit enhancement is. So a credit enhancement is a piece of asset of value that can be used to support a loan or debt. That could be a home, that could be another investment account. There's a number of different avenues that can be used as a credit example. CD, stocks, bonds, savings, real estate, all good examples. Lastly, there's also, if you're a homeowner, a home equity loan or line of credit. These vary depending upon the equity that you built in your home. And that would become a lien on your property. So if you have your primary mortgage and you have a home equity loan, that would be second, third, or fourth, depending on, who has claim on your property. So let's talk about the next stage, which is the growth stage. Okay. So the growth stage is where you're past the startup phase. You have worked toward generating income toward the business. It's becoming somewhat sustainable, but you may still need some capital. So in the growth stage, there are a lot of different ways to access capital for business function. Okay. First would be a sweep account. Okay. So basically, a sweep account is an automatic system that bank accounts use to move excess money from an operating account to an interest-bearing account. Sometimes that's daily, sometimes that's weekly, but it allows the unused funds to actually be put into a vehicle to gain interest. Okay. The second is accounts receivable management. So you can actually, in the right scenario, you can actually manage credit terms with your customers and suppliers.
Thank you. Thank you, Theron.
My
So
pleasure.
I appreciate that very, very thorough overview of the different options and our application process. I think that should be extremely helpful for people. I think also I really appreciated how you spent a lot of time on, what to do to prepare for a loan and so that you can come and meet with you in as prepared state as possible. So I appreciated you spending time on that as well. This is